from Log Cabin Leather, and I'm here in the basement of my log cabin home where I'm trying to film this video. I've had glitches here and my camera died in the middle of it the last time, so I apologize, and hopefully it's going to go better this time. I was partway through the video and it stopped, so I apologize. Today my hopes was to talk to you about how I make my hand-carved pictures on leather and how birds became my passion for my leather work. If you don't know who I am, I've been making handmade leather goods for now almost 46 years. I started out, again, self-taught, so the patterns and things I used to make pictures and so forth came from books called Make It From Leather, Make It With Leather, which I have here somewhere, and now I just moved because none of this worked a minute ago. And now I can't even find the magazine. So, Make It With Leather. This is a magazine. Again, you can't see it in the dark. Magazine. And it had a lot of pictures and things to do. Now, if you notice, this picture here is not birds. But see how it shows a horse and it has all the flowers around it. See, this is how a lot of the patterns were. And were not something that appealed to me. Because where are you going to see a horse with all these flowers around it like that? It's not realistic. I'm a realistic person. So the pattern for the horse is gorgeous. The flowers, you know, again, around the horse. And a lot of these floral pictures were something that were very, very common in leatherwork. Not something I really cared that much about. Now, the other thing with these patterns, a lot of things, I'm trying to make book covers and things like this. So I want the pattern of the horse, you know, to fit on something this size. This is a 3-ring binder. I want it to fit on something like this. But the patterns for these things, and again, I'm holding this camera, so this is a little hard for me to show and hold the camera, were big. You know, that's way too big for me to use on a notebook cover. Some patterns are even bigger than that. They're huge. So now, with the help of a computer, I could take this original picture and resize it. I couldn't even take the pattern there because it's too big to even fit on a printer or whatever to even shrink it. So I started making my own patterns. Some of the patterns I did find in those books, and I don't have the actual copy of the actual book that it came from here, which I do have, was the patterns to make this. These would like to be pictures to hang on the wall. And these happened to be in a smaller size, so they were something I could work with. So I think that was actually the original size of the pattern. It was to make like a framed picture. Again, this was one of the original things I designed myself, notepads, and this was what I called a desk organizer. It was something I made for my mother. It holds things. She would keep the mail when it came in the day. She would put, she'd take the mail that was for her, but the mail that was for my dad, she'd leave in there till he got home, and then he would pick it up when, he came in the door and sat down to read it. So these were patterns that came from that. Now, originally, again, self-taught. This blue leather should not have been blue. It was something I dyed. It was not even a good leather to dye, which is why it kind of has this cracking to it, because it wasn't the right thing to use on that kind of leather. It wasn't really a leather that I should have been trying to dye anyways, because it was already dyed. The birds themselves, again, copied the patterns from the books. That was exactly what it looked like. Painting it. Now, a lot of paints originally on leatherwork, you're using dyes. Dyes are very hard to work with because it's a liquid, and if you get a drop on someplace you don't want it, it's there. If the drop is too thick or too heavy, it's going to make it darker. If you want to make it lighter, you can thin it down. It's very hard to get the colors and the shading on that. At least it was for me, to do that. So I tried oil paints, which is what this is, but oil paint will crack over time. And again, this isn't something that bends a lot, but if it was certainly on something like a belt, it would certainly bend and the color would come off. So I experimented with oil paints because oils are really easy to blend and you have the time to work with them before it dries out and stuff. But again, did not last on leather. So I experimented more and finally figured out acrylic paint worked well. You have to thin it down so it's not going to crack and so forth. But about this on the floor. My original catalog was made in 1978, and this is the original paint. It is still intact. And again, I'm sorry, the angle and the lighting in here is not... I had another light. I should have left it over here. So to make the patterns and the painting, really, that works well. So in recent years, because that kind of stuff was not as popular, I started trying to make some different things. This is one thing I was working on that was for a wall hanging, which is a little bit different than what I do because this is the biggest thing I've ever done, which is more like kind of the patterns from that book. It's something I started over a year ago, and I have not finished because I'm not really sure if that's the way I want to go and how popular something like that will be, because obviously it's going to be more expensive when that's done. So I tried to set out to make some things that were less expensive, that, you know, that I thought might appeal to other people. So from there I went to feathers, which were very popular. Again, still on my bird theme. So feathers. So back in 2019, I started making feather hair pieces, a hair clip, the stick barrettes, and so forth, because those were very 70s type thing, which is what I started, but not as pretty. So now I started making the feather shapes and so forth, and those became very popular. So that, and then the earrings. Now, earrings were not something I made because I can't wear them, and so I don't know, I just didn't make them. So now I make a lot of the feather earrings and so forth, and that line was very popular for quite a number of years. Still is fairly popular. It's losing its popularity a little bit, so I tried to come up with something else again, working on my bird theme still, and the feathers, because I really love the colors and the colors of feathers. I decided to make some feathers, some realistic bird feathers. So continuing from what I had from the jewelry, like I have a cardinal earrings and so forth, a cardinal feather, and that's the shape of the real cardinal feather, and then making the cutouts to make it look like a scene. So trying to combine two different things. So the cutouts in the middle, the birds are attached separately, so male and female cardinal, that's the actual shape of the cardinal feather. So again, researching what the shapes of the feathers were and so forth. So here's a bluebird. So these are something I completely came up on my own, researching the shape of the feather, obviously the bird itself, and the colors and so forth, and then started creating these, which can be home decor, decorations, things like that. Some people were using them for Christmas ornaments, although they're a little large. So then I started making them in a smaller size, which is more like an ornament size. And again, still the 3D birds and so forth. So those I'm having a lot of fun making. Again, the little intricate details is something I really enjoy doing. I was going to do a demonstration here a little bit showing how I carve the feathers. This is where I moved the camera before and it died on, you know, I lost the, I don't know, the wiring or something was loose and the camera went off, and so I had to start again. So I'm going to try that. I showed this a little bit ago. I'm going to put the camera on something else and hopefully it doesn't die on me. And I'm hoping that you can see my workbench here. Again, I'm not sure on my angle here, and I'm afraid my camera's I'm gonna lose my camera if I move it too much here. So I'm gonna try. I'm not sure if that's gonna hold for you to see anything. Alright, well, here's a feather. I'm going to try to carve it. Like I said, I don't know if you're going to be able to see anything here. No, that's going to fall. I don't think this is going to work, folks. I really don't think this is going to work for me today. The camera like that. Maybe that will work. The lighting is a little bright. Alright, so I'm trying to make a feather here. So it starts out with, these are cut out by hand. They're not done with a machine or anything. I do still cut the feathers out. It's faster, easier to do it by hand than it is actually to have the machine do it. First thing, I have to draw the line to make the vein. So in this case, I'm just going to cut it. I'm trying to put this on the camera so you can see it. I can't tell if you can see it or not. There, all right. So this is called a swivel knife. It has a pointy tip. That's what I'm going to put into the leather. And again, I can turn it to angle it the way I want because I'm really making a straight line. I don't have much of a curve or anything to do. Just going up to the top there to make the vein in the feather. Now I have to carve that in. So that's going to be some other tools I have up here and a hammer. And you do wet the leather. You always have leather wet to work on it. And this is where it's going to be hard because now I'm going to be too close to the camera, I think. I don't see if you can even see that on the camera. What I'm doing is carving a line down the center, and again, I don't think that's showing all that clear on the camera, so I apologize for this. I'm not sure if this is going to be worth me demonstrating on camera, because if you can't see anything, it's not obviously worth the time here. So we make the veins down the feather. Once that's done, I have a tool called a hair blade. Now this is really to make the hair on animals. No, you can't see it, can you? The hair on animals, it has little lines, so it's really to make the fur. So now, because this knife, I don't want it to go onto my granite, I'm putting it on top of this little white, it's just a cutting board. And I have to make the lines out from the veins like this. And this is something I came up with completely on my own, how to do these feathers and so forth. In the large bird feathers, again, the core is done the same thing, the actual feather part. Obviously, if I'm doing something like this, but the feather itself is done the same way to get the lines in it here. That's what I'm doing now. Obviously, I'm not doing that on the tree in the center of it. And so now to make this into a hair piece, which is what this size would be, you know, I'm going to make the little cuts in it and so forth to make it a little more, you know, realistic, like this one with little cuts at the edges and so forth. And then if it's painted, a finish is put on it, which helps to stiffen it for certain things like the earrings. So the earring is going to stay kind of molded like this one. You know, the finish I put on it helps do that. And you put it on the front and the back, you shape it, and then when it dries, it pretty much stays in that shape. So that's pretty much, try to pick up this camera now and move it again. That's pretty much how I do these pictures and so forth, and how I carve the feathers. And again, I know that wasn't great, folks, because I'm having issues with the filming and the technology here. That's pretty much how I do the feathers and how I went from carving the birds and the nature scenes to doing the jewelry and the home decor. So that was really what my intention was tonight. So birds still are my passion. This year I am coming out with some more butterfly, really, I guess, and some feather jewelry and so forth, a new collection that will be launching in March. Again, that's going to wrap it up for now. If you're watching this on Facebook, I appreciate if you follow me and check out more of the things I do. If you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. A thumbs up would help too. And again, look forward to seeing more of my videos and so forth. Each week I'm going to try to do one on Wednesday here, although the technology is not helping all the time. And again, in March, I will be launching a new product line, which will be a jewelry collection. I try to launch 3 lines a year, so the jewelry collection will be coming up. I'm going to be having a giveaway going away to promote that prior to the launch, so you could win something that will be part of that collection. So, again, join my email if you want to find out about that stuff and be the first to find out what's going on. There should be a link, either, again, in the description or on my Facebook page where you can join. So I'd appreciate you doing that. That's going to wrap it up for now. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining. Again, I couldn't watch comments and everything because it's just not filming the way I wanted it to. So I apologize for that. So I don't mean to be rude if you mentioned or if you watched this live and you had a comment and I didn't see it. I apologize for that. I will check them out once this ends. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye.